Don't adjust your sets. It's Tuesday, August 7th, and you have football on your television. Kind of. Sort of. And unfortunately, if you're Anthony Richardson. Speaking of Anthony Richardson, it's AFC South time tonight for our previews, and a lot of stuff going on early, guys. And you know, the unfortunate thing, as we know, with what comes with contact football and contact drills is, well, injuries and non-contact injuries, and there's already been quite a few pretty sizable ones across the NFL, but as we know, that is part of the game. I think we're only a matter of time before we shrink this preseason from 3 to 2, and I don't think any of us will complain about that because, and I'll start with you, Tej, for the people that, for whatever reason, and what is wrong with you if you didn't see TJ's video this morning, but describe to our viewing audience that's here with us right now the best way of describing preseason football as only you can, TJ.
Well, first off, Mike, I want to wish everybody a happy National IPA Day. Oh. That happens on the first Thursday in August every year. So, salud.
I was not informed of this.
It was a shock to me, too. But, look, preseason football, and I'm sure a lot of us guys can, or maybe we can. I don't know. Maybe you haven't been that lucky. But I know for me, you come off a bad relationship. You're like, what the hell am I going to do? And you see this beautiful girl and you're like, hey, I think I want to go chase this one. And so you chase her and she turns out to be a complete pain in your ass, right? She's like, they should just rename her 5 horses because the only thing that comes out of her mouth is nag, 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 nag. But it's a girl, right? And you're coming off, ironically, you're getting back on the horse. And so you take your chances and see what happens. But you don't get too excited about it because, well, I mean, it's like, So that's what preseason football is. You can't get too excited about it. Just look, your favorite guys are going to, some of them are going to play like rock stars. And some of your favorite guys are going to play like garbage, and it all evens out because this is purely an evaluation time. There's these games, you don't get a trophy for winning the preseason like the Lakers get for winning a mid-season tournament. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Shrapnel everywhere. Vegas Mac. How's it going? Let me just ask you that because I don't know if that's followable, but TJ puts that out every year at the beginning of the preseason, and he's said the same story. I just felt it was time to share with the audience. Mm-hmm. Mac, what's going on, man?
It's smoky. That's all I can tell you. It's smoky here. We got smoke and ash falling from the sky. Well, smoke and ash falling from the sky. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I can tell you.
It's a symbol of the beginning of the preseason. Smoke and ash.
Yes, smoke and ash.
All over the place. We've got a couple of games in progress right now. Baltimore up 21-9 on the Colts. Cincinnati up 14-10 on the Eagles. Baltimore game, halftime. Eagles at the Link against the Bungles. 2:26 before half. Tonight, Pete Carroll is in Seattle to take on his old team with his new team, Raiders and Seahawks. That game coming up on NFL Network. Most of the rest of the action takes place on Saturday this week. But the AFC South, guys, an interesting division. It's been ruled by the Texans over the last couple of years, and I think there's a lot of people that think that could be the case again this year. 10-7 were the Texans last year. The Colts pulled up second place at 8-9. And then the Jaguars and Titans were just an embarrassment to football last year at 4-13 and 3-14 respectively. What does that bring? Well, it brings you a new coach in Duval, and it brings you the number 1 pick in Cam Ward to Tennessee. But an interesting offseason as a whole in the AFC South. First thing that jumps off the page to you about the South, Vegas Mac.
I wish and I hope that Jacksonville can live up to some of its potential. That's the first thing for me, because I've been on this team the last couple of years. I just don't get them. I don't know why they're so bad. I mean, kind of do, but they just should be better. I think this is a big year for them. They've got to figure things out, or I think some major changes have to happen.
Yeah, and Liam Cohen's going to be tasked with that job, and we'll get to him, I'm sure, later portion of this particular program. T, first thing that jumps off the page about the AFC South to you.
You mentioned that, Mac, about the Jags. It's like I'm trying to make a comparison, and they're like, I don't know, the best I can come up with, they're like the Atlanta Hawks of football, because they're always like the sexy pick for everything, and then they just invariably they just flame out. Like, was it 2 years ago when they were 8-2, and then they just went off the freaking cliff and missed the playoffs? This is, for me, this is a division where it's one, and everybody else is fighting for second place right now, because I think the Texans are that good, and I think they have a real shot this year.
Yeah, let's get you reconnected here, T. I'm gonna make you disappear for a second.
He was underwater there a little bit. So good, but I mean, I know exactly what he was saying. It's like I said, for me, Jacksonville has been very, very. Just can't put my finger on it. It's I think T exactly said it right. I think it's Houston, and then it's kind of a wait and see. We'll talk about Indianapolis, but I don't expect a whole lot from Jacksonville or from Tennessee this year. You have to prove it to me, and they haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah, and we talked about this with the NFC South. I think these two divisions are markedly similar to each other, and we've got two teams at the top of the division that we expect to battle out for the top spot in the division, and then we've got two other teams that we're not really sure. I mean, I think as a whole we would all sit here and say Tennessee's got some work to do, but I don't know. I mean, again, we try not to overreact to videos you see, and there's a station in Cleveland that's doing a camp quarterback passing chart every day of camp, which I think is a little overkill, but in Cleveland, it kind of makes sense because you have 72 quarterbacks on the roster. I will tell you this, and I don't think it comes as any surprise to any of us. Cam Ward throws one pretty football down there, and he's got some good weapons around him as far as the passing game goes, to help him out there. So I think Tennessee, if you're a Titans fan, you got a new stadium on the way. You've got the number one pick. The Mayo man is on the shelf for the rest of the year with a shoulder issue. So I think that's an interesting situation. But in any division, as we talked about yesterday, there's always newcomers, and there's guys that you're excited to see, new faces and new places, whether that be rookies, whether it be coaches, coordinators, whatever the case may be. And let's take a look at the South as a whole. And I'm going to give you guys both of mine right out of the chute here, because I think they work 1-1 with each other. And that's in Houston. Christian Kirk and Nick Chubb. It was Joe Mixon's backfield. We know about the injury to Tank Dell, and Christian Kirk, maybe didn't live up to the hype in Jacksonville, if you will. But I think with a new offensive coordinator in Houston this year, CJ Stroud, I think a lot of us weren't surprised by the sophomore slump. It's also really easy to have a sophomore slump when you're on your freaking ass for 3/4 of the games that you're playing and you lose one of your best receivers. So I really question the Laramie Tunsil move because they already had offensive line issues. But I think when you can bring in two guys, two dynamic playmakers in Chubb and Kirk, and then for my money, you've got a top 5 wide receiver in the entire league in Nico Collins. I'm really excited to see both of those guys. And now CJ Stroud into his 3rd year. And you guys know what I think of D'Amico Ryans. So I'm very excited to see those two there. Mac, you can give me both of yours, one of yours, and we'll go to T. It's up to you. Fire away.
I'm going to go with both because they both are going to be on the same spot, and that's going to be in the Indianapolis Colts. I think the two things that they kind of correspond with each other is Daniel Jones at quarterback and their draft pick Tyler Warren as a tight end or as a running back or as a quarterback or as a wide receiver or wherever else they want to put him. I mean,
Right.
I absolutely love Tyler Warren. I mean, man, oh man, how can you not like him? But I just think, I mean, I know Anthony Richardson got hurt tonight, but I just feel like this is going to be Daniel Jones's team, and I think that's going to be a good thing for the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the injury, as far as we can tell, I don't have his name in front of me, and you guys know I hate this, but the guy who covers the Colts for The Athletic, finger injury per team report. So he was done early, zero protection, blindside, just absolutely freaking mauled on a blitz early in that game. So finger injury, we'll see if that lingers. I mean, obviously we know the story on Richardson is he's kind of been made of glass for the first 3 years. TJ, there's some newcomers in the division that you have your eyes on as we go forward into this season.
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, Mike. I'm going to go with Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. This team is underachieved. I mean, that's the bottom line. And they paid a whole hell of a lot of money to Trevor Lawrence, and they're not getting very much ROI on this thing. They also overhauled their defense last year, and it was very disappointing. Like, Jacksonville wasn't in a lot of games last year, and that was not good. I mean, it cost people their jobs. Also, I'm looking at Cam Ward. I mean, this is his team now with the injury to Levis, so he's going to be given every opportunity to show what he's made of as a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are interesting spots there. And I think there are a lot of eyes on Liam Cohen because Shad Khan definitely wants to make Jacksonville the destination spot in the NFL, the stadium of the future, and all that fun stuff down there. But at the bottom line, it's about winning football games, and this is a team that looked like they were on the high rise, especially in a division that was gettable, and in comes DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson and just a new vision for the Texans, and it kind of derailed that. So let's take a look at the South. Easy for you to say. As a whole, feel free to comment along if you're watching along. We appreciate you. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show everywhere but Snapchat. Why are we not on Snapchat for the new audience, TJ?
Because Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
And apparently no filter can make me look good, as we were told yesterday, which is entirely true. But let's start with the signal callers in this division, and we've got some interesting ones. You know, we know that the Colts situation, as Mac just alluded to, is Jones and Richardson. I think all three of us would probably lean towards Jones with Richardson's body of work and inability to stay healthy. But for me, it's C.J. Stroud and then the rest of the division. And I'm going to go as far as saying that I think Cam Ward very quickly will become the second best quarterback in this division. I am not and have not been a Trevor Lawrence fan. I know he's got all the tools in the toolbox, if you will, but hasn't lived up to a single ounce of the hype for me whatsoever. I'm expecting big things from C.J. Stroud. Again, they made a change at offensive coordinator there. Kate Popovich is the new offensive coordinator, and I am concerned with their ability to keep him upright. But I think Cam Ward's got a chance especially with like the skill position guys that they have, and they're going to continue to add guys like that to really kind of solidify himself as the number 2 quarterback. Now, will Trevor Lawrence have a better year? Well, you damn sure hope so if you're a Jaguars fan. But I think for me, it's clearly Houston, and then, you know, we've got maybe a competition between Jacksonville and Tennessee. Mac, rank the quarterbacks in the South, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the big thing last year, I mean, we all know that CJ had a down year statistically. But again, was that because he just had a bad year, or like you said, was it because of the offensive line? I think we can all agree it was probably 70% more of the fact that it was the offensive line more than it was him. I mean, if you have to rank them, I would put Lawrence second in this division because, I mean, again, you said it, he has the tools, and he's got a good a brand new shiny tool that he's going to be able to use this year in Travis Hunter. So, again, TJ, you said it. There's no excuses for this team anymore. They've got to figure it out. As far as the rest, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what Cam Ward can do. I mean, I still think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle with him. And with the Colts, again, Daniel Jones could be that guy. I mean, he could be the second best quarterback in this division if things go well for the Colts.
Yeah, T, and the interesting thing, and you mentioned one of the newcomers that you have your eyes on in Liam Cohen, and I think that was exactly what the move was made to bring Liam Cohen. And I mean, you've got $200 million that you guaranteed to Trevor Lawrence, and again, he's been inconsistent. He hasn't built on his Pro Bowl appearance, so you bring in a guy who helped Baker Mayfield throw for 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns. If Lawrence is healthy, I think there's a lot of people expecting him to jump. But do you see the rankings as far as the quarterbacks in the AFC South any different?
I don't. I think it's C.J. Stroud far and away at this point the best, and then I really think you have a three-way tie for 2B, because this whole thing with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson is so confounding at this point, because Richardson has all the talent in the world, but he's like you said, this guy can't stay healthy. But then you got Daniel Jones, who on the other side can't stay on the field because of his decision making. Now, was that a result of the personnel, or was that a result, or is that just who Daniel Jones is? And I think this year is going to be the year, because like Max said, I think this is Daniel Jones' team. I don't think the Colts can go at this with Anthony Richardson in this position much longer. So they need to see what Daniel Jones has got. I think Cam Ward's going to be a star. This guy was unreal at the U. I think him becoming the starter right away is going to be huge for this Titans team as they grow forward toward that new stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of eyeballs on Jacksonville, and we'll get to a little more of the nuts and bolts coming up next week for us. We've got the NFC West on Tuesday, the AFC West, two very interesting divisions. So we'll head from the South to the West next week, and then we'll follow it up and keep you in the loop here. When we look at the running backs, guys, and you go across the board, I think, again, this is another power position, strength, if you will, for the Texans. I mean, your running back room of Mixon, Chubb, Damian Pierce, and Dario Ogunbowale. Oh, Jesus. You know what I was trying to say. I thought I was going to be able to get through that one okay, but it's a group that's extremely talented. I think then for me, you definitely got to look at the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, DJ Giddens, Khalil Herbert's there, Tyler Goodson, and then the running ability, as we've talked about either one of those two quarterbacks. After that, not very impressed with what Tennessee's got, under the hood, if you will. I do like Tyjae Spears a lot. I don't really think the experiment of Tony Pollard as a feature back really kind of panned itself out last year. Again, he's got a chance this year. Jacksonville doesn't really impress me a whole lot there. ETN is just kind of for me. Tank Bigsby, same thing. I think, again, when you look at it from Houston's standpoint, again, head and shoulders an advantage for them. Mac?
I gave a slight advantage to the Colts in this. I think maybe just a little bit better. I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a good year, 1,400 yards. The biggest thing with him, though, is he doesn't have the ability to break tackles. That's the big thing about him. But I like what they have in Indianapolis. I just slightly better than I think what Houston has. From what I've seen, I like the way that I think, and maybe it's their scheme as well that they have with the Colts. But I tend to like the Colts just a little bit better with their running backs than Houston. I definitely don't like anything in Tennessee. I mean, I think that's part of their problem as well. They haven't been able to establish any sort of aggressive running game. Of course, we all know if you can't run, it's pretty hard to throw in the NFL. And so I think that's part of the problem as well. I would actually give a slight advantage to Tennessee over Jacksonville in this. So if I had to rank them, I'd rank them Indianapolis, Houston, Tennessee, and then Jacksonville.
T.
Man, if Houston can get anything out of Nick Chubb, the dude has 130 carries in the last 2 seasons. And once again, not his fault he gets injured. But if they can get anything out of Chubb, this running back group is going to be hands down the class of the division. I do think Taylor is the best runner in the division, but as a group, man, it's Chubb's a wild card if they can get anything out of him. Tennessee and Jacksonville, yeah, I agree with you, Mike. They're not very exciting. I think Tennessee probably wishes they handled the Derrick Henry situation a little bit better, because he is definitely
up, remember?
Yeah, I was going to say he's definitely proved in Baltimore that he is washed up.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed him on the sideline tonight messing around with Lamar and Kyle Hamilton, who were all not in uniform for a good reason tonight. I think people forget how effing big Derrick Henry is. Like, the dude is an absolute monster. And, like, Kyle Hamilton's not a small guy, and neither is Lamar. I know they're not, weight-wise, but, I mean, just general stature. They're not small dudes. And, like, they looked like high school kids that were, like, given a chance to stand on the sideline next to Derrick Henry. Well, Dare Ogbunu. Let's see. I'm gonna get it right before the show's over. We got enough time here. Wide receivers. It's an interesting mix here in this division, and I really, honestly, guys, I think when I look at the wideouts, and again, we'd group tight ends in with the wideouts here, and I'm putting a lot on Travis Hunter here, but it looks like he is going to be more of a wide receiver, at least initially for them, than he is a regular every down cornerback. So I think the combination of Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., who very quietly had a really, really good year last year, I like that. Again, I don't think there's any question that Nico Collins is one of the best 5 wide receivers in the NFL for me. I think that the loss of Tank Dell and needing to get a lot out of Christian Kirk makes me a little hesitant there, because if Kirk does what he's capable of doing, then it's really, really hard to zero in on Nico Collins. And with the injury that Dell had, and when he had it, there's probably a really realistic chance that we don't see Tank Dell at all this year. So that's a big kind of hit for them there. I really like what Tennessee has around Cam Ward with Ridley and Lockett, Van Jefferson. I mean, those are 3 experienced guys that can get open and make a young quarterback's job a lot easier. And the Colts receivers, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. They don't wow me for what you see in flashes from the Colts receivers, Mac. I just haven't seen it consistently enough for me to trust their receivers.
No, and that's why I highlighted Tyler Warren at the beginning, because I think he makes a huge difference. I mean, he's a guy that, I mean, when we saw it, you could put him as a tight end. You could put him, out of the backfield. You can put him, in a slot. You can put him out wide. I mean, I think it's kind of weird to say, but I think Tyler Warren, as whatever position he is going to help that receiving crew be a whole lot better. I think he's going to be a big impact this year, bigger than a lot of people think. I still agree. I still think Houston has a better overall grouping than any of these teams. I think Jacksonville, I would give them a slight advantage over the Colts right now, and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of what we believe that Travis Hunter is going to be able to bring to that crew. So I would give Jacksonville just a slight advantage over the Colts. But Houston definitely has the weapons, and we've seen that. And if they can at all figure out their offensive line, that Houston offense is, as we know, is very, very tough.
Yeah, I love the acquisition of Lockett by the Titans. I think that was huge for them. And you can see that the Titans are trying to give, Ward now, weapons for him to use. And I think that's going to be crucial for his development. Indianapolis, I like Adonai Mitchell. I kept hearing all this promise about him, and the guy was like a bag of hammers last year. The Indianapolis their receivers, like Mike said, I'm not super scared of them. I would be, like you said, Mac, I would be concerned if I was an opposing defense on how Tyler Warren would be used, because he is a great, great athlete. Jacksonville and De'Ami Brown, I think, is the wild card here. depending on how he gets used. This is a guy in Washington who, like, yeah, he played, but he really didn't have a lot of receptions statistics wise. Didn't seem like he had a lot of opportunities considering who he was playing behind. So I think this is a huge year for him. And if he can make an impact on this receiving core, I think that Trevor Lawrence could have a big year.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody loves the flash of the offense, but as we talked about last night, and will continue to do so as we go through these NFL previews division by division, as we take you up to opening night at the Link, it's the offensive line. And again, when you're trying to rank an offensive line group, you're looking for depth. And this is one spot that I think Tennessee did absolute wonders in what they did, knowing that they had a number 1 pick. Obviously, we all know who Brian Callahan's dad is, and you can do a lot with an offensive line there and help a rookie quarterback out a lot. They bring in Dan Moore, they bring in Kevin Zeitler, Cushenberry's back, Skoronski's back, and then J.C. Latham. I think this is a group that, when you compare them, for me, to the entire division as a whole, I really, really think this might be the best offensive line group because of the combination of the coaching experience, the guys that they have, the veterans that can really, again, I think it's one of the more underrated things in football is the veteran linemen and how they help young quarterbacks. And this group that Tennessee has put together, I really, really think that they're going to be able to help Cam Ward progress very nicely in his first year. And then when I look at, I'll go to my bottom side of this division, guys, when I'm looking at O-line groups. And for me, it's honestly the Texans. And again, the Laramie Tunsil thing, and nobody's going to question the moves that Houston's made. But when I look at their offensive line group and I'm going, man, you're asking a lot out of a group that really doesn't have a ton of experience. You've got guys that have been around for a little while, but depth-wise, Houston's one of those teams that throws a red flag for me, one offensive line injury away from disaster again. And C.J. Stroud can only do so much when he's looking at the roof of NRG Stadium, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, to borrow my line from last week, this is not, a waste management grouping, but it's pretty close. It's not. It is not. They might want to look into some recycling. I actually like the Colts. I know they had a couple of guys that they lost with Kelly and Freeze. I still think the Colts are pretty good. Their left guard, left tackle combination, Nelson and Ryman, is really, really good. I mean, I think they're going to be still outstanding. I still think the Colts probably in the top 10 in the NFL. Other than that, I think there's too many question marks for me. Houston right now is, I still think one of the worst offensive lines in football. I don't like what they have. I think they're on the bottom, and I don't think Jacksonville and Tennessee's very much better. I think that's why I kind of have a little bit of a rosy feel about the Colts. I like their offensive line. I like what they can do with their quarterback. I think the Colts could have themselves a pretty good year. I think they could push Houston in this because, again, I just don't see where Houston got better in the one spot they needed to get better, and that was the offensive line.
See? Unmute your microphone.
I think they got worse, as a matter of fact. Holy smokes. They got worse, as a matter of fact, Houston did. And I don't, as much as I'm a fan of Houston and their opportunities this year, this is a huge year for that offensive line. But Tennessee, like you said, Mike, dude, Tennessee brought in six offensive linemen, 6 new ones. And it is the depth. We've seen it with the Chargers right now, that the depth at offensive line is super important no matter who the quarterback is, whether you have Herbert or Lawrence or Joe Bag of Donuts out there slinging the rock. And this is just one more thing that's going to help Cam Ward grow and become a better quarterback, is if he can stay on his feet. Yeah, Houston didn't do such a great job. I like Tennessee here. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, slight nod to either one of them, and then Houston at the back end.
Yeah, and if you missed it earlier
here's
today,
the thing. I was going to say, Tennessee had the worst offensive line probably in football. So I mean, they could have gotten anybody and put them on the line and probably been better. I understand about the depth, but I don't. You can have depth, but you need quality as well. And I don't know that Tennessee has the quality. Yeah, they have the depth, but I don't know. I mean, will they be better than last year? Yeah, probably. Like I said, you could probably go get 5 stiffs and be better. But I mean, just because you have quantity doesn't mean you have quality. I mean, they can't block. They can't block. I mean, I've watched quite a few years with Pittsburgh, and I mean, there's a reason the Steelers don't have a good offensive line. There's a reason he's still not in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if those of you that might have missed it today because you were working or whatever, the injury that TJ was referring to, Rashawn Slater, out for the season just shortly after signing a massive extension with the Chargers, a ruptured patella tendon. So he is going to miss the entire 2025. So a big blow early in camp here for the Chargers. Let's flip to the other side of the ball, guys, where I think this division really is going to be won or lost. And when I look at the teams that are consistently successful in the NFL, we know they build from the trenches. And this is another place, especially when it comes to this division. I think we've got, for me, it's kind of a 1 and 1A situation. The defensive lines for Tennessee and for Houston. And I think a lot of people forget how damn good Jeffrey Simmons is in Tennessee, because while Tennessee was able to, improve their defensive EPA last year, they got up to 19th from the previous year when they were 26, but it didn't really reflect on the score sheet. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with their offense and their defense being on the field so much. But when I look at the defensive lines for both Tennessee and for Houston, with Houston, we know, you get in there with Danielle Hunter, Rankins, Edwards, Anderson. I really like the group that Tennessee has up front with Sebastian Joseph Day, really good, Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons. And again, I think it's just because there's a lot of people that have forgotten how damn effective Jeffrey Simmons is, because he plays in Tennessee and they really haven't been very good. So for me, I think Tennessee, for my view, has their biggest upper hand, if you will, amongst the teams within their division on the O-line and the D-line. Mac, how do you look at the D-lines in this division?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think if we had to, as we're breaking down these positions, without a doubt, the strongest position for me for Tennessee is their D line. Without a doubt, I like them a lot. Not as much as I like Houston, obviously. I mean, Houston's just stacked on that D line. I mean, that Houston line again. I think probably in the top 4 or 5 in the NFL. That brings me to the Colts. Again, I know I'm kind of, I don't know if they're going to be like that team for me this year. They have 2 guys in Stewart and Buckner that are really, really good. Although they're both about, they're in their 30s, 30, 31 years old. And so there's a little bit of age factor in there you have to worry about. But as 31 years old, those 2 guys are probably as good as any interior defenders, as a duo in the league. Can they continue to do it year after year? We'll have to wait and see. But I definitely like Houston. I think I would put Tennessee second. The Colts just a little bit behind them, and Jacksonville might need an open tryout to see what they can do.
Yeah, Latu is the name you want to pay attention to in Indy, because if he comes around as quickly as they think he can, with those 2 that you mentioned in Stewart and Buckner, they could have a stronghold on that position group. But I think as a whole, we joked yesterday before you go with your rankings, T, and those of you that missed Tuesday's show, the defensive line groups for the NFC South were referred to as the waste management group by Vegas Mac, because it was all trash. So if you missed that on Tuesday, there you go. I got you caught up. T, rank the D-line groups in the AFC South.
Man, I'm looking for Josh Hines-Allen to have a big impact this year on that Jacksonville defense. Once again, Jacksonville overhauls their defense in a big way last year. They brought in Armstead, and they were just a disappointing unit. And I don't know if it's more about the coaching and the scheme, or if this is players, but it didn't work out for them for some reason. I think I'm excited about Simmons. I'm excited about Houston. I think Houston's the class of this group. Shortly or just barely ahead of Tennessee, and then Jacksonville and Indy for me are kind of a coin flip, depending on if Jacksonville can have a resurgent season on the D line.
Yeah, and you back up the D line with the linebackers, and again, I think this is another spot here. And I think it's reflective, and you can see it go across the bottom of the screen there when the odds to win the South Division are put up there. And yesterday, I think a lot of people would just off on paper, and we talked a lot about the Saints and what to expect out of the Saints this year. And I think, comparatively speaking, Tennessee is kind of in the same boat. The difference is Tennessee has a quarterback and New Orleans doesn't. But I think when you see the makeup of this division, as we talked about off the top before we get to the linebackers here, Tennessee is a plus 600 to win this division. That's their Vegas odds, where New Orleans was a plus 1,000 to win their division. We're talking about the same makeup as we mentioned off the top here. You've got Jacksonville and Houston, then you've got Indy, and then you've got Tennessee. Well, in the NFC South that we talked about on Tuesday, you have Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Then you have Carolina, thank you, which is getting a lot of early season smoke, and then New Orleans. So I think this is, again, another place where Tennessee has quietly built a decent group, and I think that they should be considered amongst the better linebacking groups in this division, because you've got Draymond Jones and Cody Barton. You've got good depth across each positions there. Arden Key, another guy who's massively underrated. We know what Tennessee brings to the table with Azeez Al-Shire and their group. Jacksonville, Devin Lloyd, Ventrell Miller, Dennis Gardeck. I think all of these teams, for the most part, except for Indy for me, are pretty well balanced and have good depth at the linebacker position. When I look at Indy, it's Zaire Franklin's got to do a hell of a lot for him, and I don't know what kind of help he's going to get there. So I would put Indy as like a 2, and the other 3 teams kind of almost on even par with each other. Mac?
There's one guy, I mean, I've watched him a little bit, and I said, man, if I could have this guy on my team, I would absolutely just go crazy. And that's Devin Lloyd. I mean, he's a legit playmaker. I mean, his run defense, what he was graded at over the last couple of years, he's ranked 4th in that position. I mean, that's on a team whose defense sucks. Let's just put it that way, And so I like him. I like what the Jags have at linebacker. Again, I'll say, like you get, I think they have some good depth in there. But yeah, the rest of this division is not real good. The Colts are not good. Tennessee is not good. Houston is slightly better than average. What they have there. Here's the thing. I don't think any of these teams have that, Mike, you said it the other night. The linebacking spot, like that was almost like the premier position in football, right? I mean, I think back to like Han and Lambert, like those guys were like monsters, and like same with the Raiders, like your linebackers were it. These teams lack that. They don't have that star, that guy in the linebacker spot to raise them up. They just don't have it. And I know the game is different. I know you're getting a lot of these hybrids, these safeties that are going down and playing these bullshit. Listen, you need a linebacker. You need somebody who can stop the run, who can go back and pass, who can if you need him to get to the quarterback and get to the quarterback, you need that tough MFer out there.
And like you said, I mean, it could be because of the way like the schemes that these teams run nowadays with so many hybrid players that you're not going to have a guy like a Singletary or like a Zach Thomas who's really, really good at just being a linebacker. He has to be good at other things, and I think that's a detriment to the defensive game and the personnel. As far as the linebackers go, man, I'm really intrigued with Jacksonville this year for some reason. I can't place on why, but when you talk about Devin Lloyd and you talk about Josh Hines Allen and you talk about the potential of this Jacksonville defense, that just and the opportunity with the new coaching staff, this whole outfit here is just very intriguing for me. I'm kind of surprised. Well, not really surprised, but I'm kind of like the scheme that Houston runs, and their defense has been lauded as top 5 in almost every publication right now. I mean, they've got to have good personnel. So I go with I go with Houston here, and then Indianapolis, Tennessee, Jacksonville. They're kind of like 2A, 2B here. But this Jacksonville team, I don't know what it is. Mackie got me kind of fired up about them.
Well, I mean, I think they're frustrating. I mean, I compare them to give a baseball reference, like the San Diego Padres. It's kind of like I can't figure this team out. It seems like it's like they don't do anything. And then I look up in the standings, and the Padres are 2 games behind the Dodgers now. And it's like then it seems like in a week they'll be 8 games behind. And that's how that Jacksonville team is. It's like I expect them to be good. I watch them, and they just suck, you know. And it's like, and then I'm like, I don't know.
Listen, the key to getting yourself a linebacker.
You get me all fired up over Jacksonville. God,
the key to having successful linebackers is just know what the hell you're doing in the draft. Perfect example, guy wears 54 in San Francisco. Is the best middle linebacker in the NFL right now. Don't come at me because you're going to be wrong all day long. Let's talk about secondaries here to finish up. And I think this one, guys, is, for me, it's an absolute zero brain power needs to go into this when we talk about the secondary groupings, and that, for me, is Houston. Derek Stingley, Kalen Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who now we're learning, and I'll just give it to you for those that didn't see it today. Early thought was he might have torn his ACL. He was guarding John Mechie during a scrimmage today. Went to make a tackle, went to the ground clutching his leg, didn't get up right away. Now we're getting reports that have come out and within the last hour here, and this is coming from a Yahoo report from Sean Leahy, that they're thinking that, from what they've been able to tell, that he didn't tear the ACL. So sounds like he's going to miss some time regardless, but for the Texans' sake, and a big reason why they brought him in was just to strengthen a power position already. And, you know, again, I'll go top to bottom here. When I look at Jacksonville from a defensive side of the field, when it comes to their secondary, there isn't a single guy in that secondary that I'd be afraid to throw the football on. Now, the wild card, as we know, is Travis Hunter, and how much will he play on that side of the ball, and how well can he translate his college success at cornerback to the NFL. A lot of people would say we think pretty easily, but I can't look at Jacksonville's secondary and call them anything more than, for me, the worst group in this division, because I don't know anything about Travis Hunter, the NFL cornerback, yet. So for me, it's Houston at the top, Jacksonville at the bottom. You guys can piss and argue about the middle of that all you want, but I think Houston has another clear edge here, and that just goes to Caserio and what they've done in Houston and how they built this roster, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's one of the top secondaries in football. I mean, it's great from top to bottom, from right to left, no matter how you try to approach it. It is. Speak about Hunter for just a second. I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to do both. I really do. It's not a Shohei Ohtani kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it from a scheme point in football than it does in baseball and everything. I think, and especially being young like he is, I think they need to have him focus on the offense. I think that's a bigger need for them. And then, find a package or two that he can play defense. But I was talking to Jonathan, my son, about it. He's like, "Oh, he's going to be so great. He's going to play with." I'm like, "There's no way he's going to do what he did in Colorado." I mean, number one, he couldn't do it for the whole season. The season's longer. He would, by the end of that season, he'd be so worn down that he wouldn't be effective. So I think put him on offense, scheme him when you can on defense, but you don't want to burn this kid out in the first year.
Yeah, and you don't want to fall into the trap that FanDuel's already set for you, that you can bet on him to have an interception and a receiving touchdown in the preseason. I bet some preseason things, but I don't bet player props for sure in the preseason. Allegedly, and this is, I believe, Saturday, yes. Saturday, they take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and according to Mr. Duval himself, Hunter is going to play on both sides of the ball. Again, it's a preseason game, but we'll get our first chance to kind of see what he looks like as far as that goes this weekend. Secondary.
Well, and Travis Hunter also isn't going up against,
Big 12 receivers anymore.
Yeah,
right.
It's the Big 12. It's Division I football. But no, you're exactly right. You're not going up against some schmo who had algebra class yesterday and is now playing for the Kansas Jayhawks. You're going to be going against Tyler Lockett. You're going to be going against Nico Collins. They're going to stick Hunter against probably the best players because of
Calvin Ridley, Alec Pierce. You can keep going down the list like you just were.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I agree with Mac here. It's an opportunity for Hunter, absolutely, to see what he's made of. Houston, Stingley's definitely the class of the defensive backs here. I like the acquisition of Snead in Tennessee, and I like the acquisition of Ward in Indianapolis. But it's still Houston, and you give me a coin flip with Indianapolis and Tennessee, and then Jax.
Nominee for all name team out of the AFC South. I gave you mine from the NFC South the other day. So the AFC South nominee for all name team is fourth round pick of Jacksonville running back Bashal Tootin. That's my nomination for all name team out of the AFC South. We need to check the stats on my all name guys. See how they do at the end of the year. All right, guys. Schedules make up a lot of what happens in the NFL, as we very well know. The over-analysis, I can tell you already, it'll be about week 6 or 7 when everybody goes, well, San Francisco's like 6-0 because they haven't played anybody. Listen, you got to play who's on your damn schedule, so save that argument for a different show because we don't want to hear that shit here. But there is always parts when you really dive into a team's schedule where you can look at it and you can go, this is kind of somewhere to kind of make hay. I'll start with the team we were just talking about, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if the Jaguars are going to get off to a good start, the schedule makers did them a favor. They have Carolina, then they're at Cincinnati, and then they have Houston. So they can prove it very early there. And those are games that they could win. Obviously, the Houston game would be a little bit of a toss-up. Here's where I think it gets interesting for Jacksonville. It's weeks 4 through 8 for them, and 4 through 7, technically. September 28th, they're at San Francisco, so the cross-country flight there. Then on, I believe it's a Monday night, October 6th, they're home for Kansas City, then they're home for Seattle, then they're home for the Rams. And you'd go, well, those are 3 home games. Why is it a tough stretch? Well, right there, let's say you come out of the beginning of the season, and who knows what the Bengals are going to be other than really good offensively. The Bengals probably don't even know what they're going to be. Carolina, whether they live up to the hype. They've got a chance to enter that little stretch there with 3 of those 4 tough games at home, 2-1. Maybe if they get lucky, 3-0. So I think that's a stretch there, and getting Kansas City, Seattle, and the Rams all in Jacksonville, and we're talking about, early October there to mid-October, late September kind of stretch. I think that's a stretch where Jacksonville can sink their ship, or they can really make some headway there if they can do something with that. So that's kind of a stretch I'm looking at the Jaguars, because I think it's really going to tap that entire team and show us really who they are in those 4 weeks. TJ, I'll go to you next. Give me a schedule spot that's tough or a good spot for somebody that you see?
I've got a couple here, but I'll go with Houston because we've been banging on them for a while today. In the first half to second half of the season, weeks 5 through 9, you're at the Ravens. You have a bye week. Then you're at Seattle. Then you're home for San Francisco and home for Denver. And there's no like these are 4 teams that are potential. Like nobody be surprised if all these teams make the playoffs this year. This is going to be a tough go, especially I think that the Ravens game and then I think the Denver Broncos, we'll talk about more next week, but I think the Denver Broncos are going to be really good this year. So those 4 in a row are going to be tough. They got 2 on the road. They got 2 at home. But that's going to be a tough go for the Texans.
Matt, give me a schedule spot that sticks out to you from the South.
I took a look at the Colts is where I went, and they have a stretch. I got to count here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah, I know.
Probably 17 games in a row.
Yeah, I know. Around week 9. They go at Pittsburgh. Then they play Atlanta. They have a bye in there, which is okay, and then they go at Kansas City and then against Houston. I look at that. I think that's the beginning of their schedule. I think they could handle. That's a tough 4-week stretch right there, even with a bye in the middle.
If I remember correctly, too, right after that stretch, I think they also host San Francisco kind of late in the year on a Monday night.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, after the Houston, then they go. Actually, it's really rough. They go on the road. They go Jacksonville, Seattle, and then San Francisco home. So yeah, I mean, so again, the front half of their schedule is not that bad, but that's a stretch that could define.
All right, so feel free again if you're. Go ahead, T.
Sorry, Mike. That's the part of the schedule where Anthony Richardson goes and takes a nap.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to give him a dirt nap to start the game tonight, man. If you haven't seen the hit he took at the beginning of that game, like never saw it coming. Never saw it and just got absolutely blasted. So again, it's last report on it was just a finger. I think it was a dislocated finger. Dislocates pinky. I mean, I'm not going to say I could have taken that hit and even stood up after it. So, but yeah, he never saw it coming. Got absolutely blasted. I know we're talking football here, guys, but I saw this because it was a light day on the baseball schedule before we get to our liquid locks for the South, and it made me think of bold predictions we made as we came back from the baseball All-Star break. And my bold prediction was that the Dodgers would be tied with somebody. I couldn't tell you who, as Mac turns into the faceless man. Now he's back. Now he's not. Now there he is.
Hey.
They only have a 2-game lead, and we found the answer to that somebody, and that somebody looks like they could be the San Diego Padres. I have 8 days left to come through on my bold prediction there, and the Dodgers they're definitely doing me some favors in that ballpark. Here's the irony. I said they'd be tied with somebody by August 15th at the top of that division. You know who they play on August 15th?
That'd be the Dodgers.
Scheduled pitching matchup, if he can make the matchup, is Clayton Kershaw. I mean, there's an if he can make the matchup against Michael King, returning shortly for the Padres. So, which is kind of ironic. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but basically, yeah, I just tooted my own horn there. So, all right, let's look at some liquid locks out of this division. I went with a couple win totals here. I think there's too many variables as far as each team goes. I'm looking at some Cam Ward props. I'm very interested, and again, you're only going to see so much in the preseason, but I want to see. I think the things that you can see, guys, in the preseason is when a coordinator gets a job in a new place. I'm very interested to see, and again, it'll be kind of vanilla tonight, but I'm interested to see the Raiders' offense with some of the Chip Kelly tendencies tonight. So I think that's, for me, that's what I look for the most in preseason football. I'm very interested to see what Tennessee's offense will start to look like, knowing that they have a guy in Cam Ward who's going to be playing quarterback for him. So I kept mine simple here. Vegas win total on Houston is over 9.5. I honestly think Houston's going to just dog walk this entire division. So I'm going to take Houston over 9.5 wins. And because I don't trust either quarterback in Indy, and I don't really have a whole lot of faith in the wide receivers in Indy, I am going to feel very comfortable at betting the under on Indy's win total at 7.5. So Texans over 9.5, Colts under 7.5. TJ, give me some liquid locks for the AFC South.
I'm really bullish, even though Jacksonville is very intriguing, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with. I'm very bullish on Houston this year. I pushed that over total to 11.5 and got it at plus 350. I agree with you, Mike. I think they are just going to roll right through the division. It's going to be those other 11 games that's going to put it together. But this is a team, Mike, I know you're going to think that I'm crazy, okay? But I think this may be the year that the Houston Texans do not get the Saturday at 4:30 Eastern.
That is blasphemous.
Weekend playoff scheduling this year. I think they're going to find a way to not have to play that game on Saturday afternoon. I'm taking them over 11.5 wins at plus 350. I think CJ Stroud's going to have a huge year this year. I got him over 25 or at least 25 touchdown passes at plus 175.
The only thing that makes me a little hesitant when I look at Houston's schedule is I think, and I don't have strength of schedule in front of me. To be honest, I won't have strength of schedule in front of me one time during this whole thing because I think strength of schedule is kind of overblown. Like, I'll give you an example. Listen, the 49ers were absolute trash last year. They couldn't keep anybody healthy. They were garbage. And what did they get this year? Well, they got the AFC South. They got the NFC South. And then they've got a last place schedule. So I think that benefits a team like that. But I think for the most part, you don't really know. And the interesting thing about Houston's schedule is they open at the Rams, and then they have Tampa. Then they're at Jacksonville, Tennessee. Then they're at Baltimore. Then they have a bye week. They're at Seattle. And it's like, I'm not going to read you the whole schedule, but it's like they play a couple tough teams, and then they play some teams that you would think they could easily beat. Like, their schedule, to me, is very well balanced. The end of their schedule, I think, is very advantageous for them. We remember last year, Pittsburgh. We thought there was a chance Pittsburgh could have been the number 1 seed last year, and then they had to play that murderer's row of a schedule. Look at these last 4 games for the Texans. Home for Arizona, home for the Raiders, at the Chargers, home for the Colts. You want to talk about getting through and getting off the Saturday scheduling spot that they're used to? That's a stretch right there that can do it for you. Mac, the man we created Liquid Locks for, give me some Liquid Locks for
Here we go.
AFC South.
I am going out to Houston. That's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to go Nico Collins over 1,000 yards. That's my first one. Nico Collins over 1,000 yards.
Don't break the limb you're out on there.
I'm warming up.
All right.
I'm going Mr. Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence, over 3,500 passing yards. Sunshine!
Does that count like only to Jacksonville players?
Yeah. Well, no, then it would be over 5,000 yards.
1,500 yards and interceptions. All right, what else you got? I know you're not done at 2.
I'm done at 2. That's what I got.
It's preseason and Liquid Locks for Mac, TJ.
I've got ash. I've got ash in my eyes. What can I tell you?
That bet on Waffle House Jesus though. I mean, he's once again why this team is so intriguing to me this year is like he comes off of throws for 4,700, 4,300, 4,600. Yeah, I know he was injured and he throws for 26, but like he looked like absolute ass last year, and
ash
for number
or
one,
ass.
Oh, probably a little bit of little column A, little column B. But the expectation, like he's already done this. He's already thrown for a crap ton of yards. Why? I expect him to be able to do it again. And it just makes this team so frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, if Travis Hunter lives up to the hype and again, we're talking talking about two different Travis Hunters when we talk about him. The offensive side of Travis Hunter, I think, is going to translate very, very well. So with Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, and if they can get anything out of ETN, like he's got the weapons around him to probably easily do that. Scores around the league right now, 21-16, Baltimore up on Indy. I'm sure Joey Crab Fisherman is in at quarterback for the Ravens. When they're in the red zone, great job by the Ravens TV network on the preseason here. The Old Bay red zone. I mean, you can't get any more like classic Baltimore than that. Philly's up 27-14 on Cincinnati. So even in the preseason, Cincinnati looks like they still can't play defense. Why is that important for me? Well, I just need I need the Seahawks to be up by 3 points at halftime, and I'm going to be very happy for my first NFL cash of the year. I got my 2 rushing touchdowns out of the Ravens. Gee, that was a hard one to get. Philadelphia, -2.5. They were actually like +6.5. I took it the other way. And now I just need the Seahawks to beat up on Pete, at least in the first half. And be careful with Pete. He's an old man. My fiance will be going through her trial and error period. She's not sure if she's going to be a Raider fan this year or a Seahawk fan, which will be interesting because either way, she's not going to be happy. I just haven't had the heart to tell her that yet. So plenty of stuff. Next week, speaking of the Raiders and the Seahawks, we will be all out west next week. Tuesday, the NFC West, the Cardinals, the Hawks, the Niners, and the Rams should be an interesting race this year. And then on Thursday, is this the year? If you remembered our shows from last year, is this the week? Can anybody knock off the Chiefs? I think the AFC West is very intriguing this year. You alluded to Denver earlier, T. I know we're all excited about the new look for the Raiders. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and it's year 2 for Jim Harbaugh. So I think both of the West divisions, I think you can make a case, honestly, for 3 teams that could win each of those divisions, and then one team that could maybe surprise and catch lightning in a bottle and catch a last playoff spot. And, of course, I'm talking about the Raiders and the Cardinals in that situation. But plenty of stuff to talk about on the West. Tomorrow, Mac will have some baseball. Dollar Dingers returns. Last week, Mac was the only one that got one for us. Me and TJ crapped the bed last week. So Mac redeemed himself. And not only did he redeem himself, he got to take shots back at both of us here. Mac will have his Around the World Mac Minute on Saturday. TJ's got some baseball musings for you, and then I'm just going to see what pops into my little head on Sunday, the St. Jude Classic, the first round of the PGA Tour playoffs, the FedEx Cup, the race for the Cup. Akshay Bhatia with a hell of a day today. Mike versus Mac there as well. So plenty of fun stuff coming up. Next week, we're going to tell you when our college football preview show is. We're excited about that one. And then we'll remind you about our new schedule going into football season. We've got a couple of the lunchtime shows. We've got a couple of nighttime shows, so we're going to be with you all football season long. So to everybody in the back, to the boys on the screen, we will talk to you in this form next week. Make sure you're following us at Mike Arana Show on all of these social channels except for Snapchat because we're not 12. Snapchat sucks. We'll talk to you later. Have a good weekend, everybody.